heart of the Mediterranean, where sun-drenched coastlines once promised peace and prosperity, a small town named Sans Prion found itself facing a catastrophe it never saw coming. What began as a calm summer day quickly descended into disaster. Tourists strolled through the charming streets, unaware of the approaching menace. Then, the skies turned dark. The breeze died, and in an instant, the storm arrived. Torrents of rain battered the region. Streets became violent rivers, dragging away debris, vehicles, and lives. Houses that once stood firm were surrounded, their foundations strained under the pressure of surging floodwaters. Inside, families clung to one another, watching helplessly as their homes turned into isolated islands surrounded by chaos. But this wasn't an isolated storm. The entire Mediterranean has been facing a surge in violent weather events. The World Meteorological Organization warns, the Mediterranean is warming 20% faster than the global average. These aren't abstract statistics. Towns like Sepria are living this climate crisis in real time. The flooding in Sans Prion was just one chapter in a growing environmental tragedy. Just months earlier, deadly floods in Spain had taken hundreds of lives. Proof that climate instability is accelerating. The United Nations has called for urgent, coordinated global action. But in Sans Prion, the fight wasn't against policy. It was against rising water, broken roads, and collapsing lives. Local emergency crews responded quickly. But the disaster overwhelmed them. Roads were destroyed, power lines fell, communications were lost, and the heart of the local economy, tourism, vanished overnight. Even as infrastructure crumbled, something powerful emerged: human resilience. Neighbors became rescuers, strangers formed supply lines. People opened their doors to families who had lost everything. Amid the devastation, the spirit of solidarity began to shine. The emotional toll was devastating. For every rescue, there was loss. For every moment of hope, there was heartbreak. The people of Sans Prion weren't just battling water. They were grappling with the realization that could be gone in a single night. This flood was a warning, loud and clear, a reminder of how deeply interconnected we are. What happens in a single Mediterranean town echoes across nations. The United Nations, in its push for sustainable development, emphasized that regions like this are on the front lines of climate breakdown. The Mediterranean Strategy for Sustainable Development, MSSD 26D-2025. Aimed to prepare communities. But the storm tested every inch of that preparation. As floodwaters slowly withdrew, the truth scale of destruction revealed itself. Homes gone. Livelihoods erased. Schools, clinics, and shops all underwater or washed away. And yet, there was movement. Support began to arrive. The European Union pledged aid, recognizing the crisis as a wake-up call for all of Europe. A report from the European Environment Agency made it clear the future depends on how seriously we take disaster risk management. Today. In Sans Prion, recovery is scars on buildings and hearts will remain, but so will the lessons. This wasn't just a story of a town lost to floodwaters. It was a story of resistance, of unity, of people choosing to rise again and again. Across the Mediterranean, across France, and across Europe, the message is the same. Climate change is not coming. It's here. As the sun sets over Sans Prion, there is sorrow, but also resolve. The people here will rebuild, not just walls and roads, but their sense of safety, community, and purpose. Because in a world reshaped by climate extremes, survival is no longer enough. We must adapt, we must prepare, and we must act before the next storm arrives.
Overland travel impossible. Gongyuan's main routes were underwater, stranding entire communities. Rescue teams, military personnel, firefighters, and local volunteers rushed into the chaos. Undeterred by the dangers, they navigated treacherous currents in inflatable boats, pulling survivors from rooftops and rubble. In Pingwu, soldiers waded through mud as thick as cement to free trapped families. Helicopters buzzed overhead, slicing through misty air as they dropped critical supplies, food, blankets, clean water. The scale of disruption is staggering. In Pingwu, entire rows of houses were flattened, reduced to piles of broken wood and shattered tile. Others were washed away completely, leaving no trace they ever existed. In Nanyang, homes on foot through waist-deep sludge. Shelters overflowed as survivors arrived with nothing but the clothes on their backs. They shared blankets, food, and silence. Some too shocked to speak, others reunited in tears. Doctors treated injuries worsened by the cold waters. Volunteers ferried supplies across rivers turned into torrents. Still, the rain didn't stop. Hillsides trembled with every drop. People stayed alert, packed and barefoot, ready to run again. One young volunteer said, "It felt like the mountains were breathing angry, and we were too small to calm them." Yet amid the fear, humanity held strong. In every shattered town, strangers became family. Hands reached through the mud, not just to rebuild, but to remind one another that they were not alone.